I'll get started. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Selena Wallace. I'm the Public Involvement Manager for ARC North West Coast, and I am here with my colleagues, Ruth Ball, who's the wizard making sure that everything's working properly, and Nahid Tahir, who is our public advisor lead for the Seldom Heard Forum. This is our 8th session, and we're talking about unpaid carers today. Next slide, please, Ruth. Yeah, so as I said, this is our team. This is our agenda for today. We should be finished.
Nothing working.
If you can try and keep your mute on while we're speaking, if that would be great. Thanks, everyone. So we've just got a slight change in the schedule. I'm afraid Rachel Corbett from Yellow House is unable to join us today, but it shouldn't cause too much change to the agenda. So next slide, please, Ruth. Well, I'll just do a brief bit of housekeeping. As I said, if you can just remain on mute through the presentations. We are recording the meeting and the speakers will be pinned on the screen, but if you feel uncomfortable, please do keep your cameras off if needed. We will be going through the presentations quite quickly because we've got quite a few people to bring in today. So if you have any questions while the talk's going on, please do put them in the chat, and we'll make sure that the speakers either come and answer them in the chat, or we can discuss them at the end when we've got some time for Q&A. We do recognise that the topics that we're talking about today can be upsetting and emotional, so please do drop Ruth Ball a message if you wanted to go into a breakout room and have a chat to us one-to-one, or if you want to talk to us after the meeting, or if we can give you any support that you need. And please do feel free to tweet about today, just tag in ARC North West Coast as it says on the bottom of the screen. Next slide, please, Ruth. And just a really brief background to ARC North West Coast. ARCs are applied research collaborations. They are funded by the NIHR, and we bring together universities with health researchers together with our local members, which include local authorities, our NHS partners, GPs, but also third sector and VCSFE organisations, and of course our public advisors, members of the public that are based across the Northwest Coast, as you can see in the little map. And we have a focus on reducing health inequalities through the voice of the population. Yes, we'll send out copies of the slides. Ruth, next slide, please. Thanks. So our Seldom Heard forums are basically we created to make sure that we heard from populations that maybe are less often spoken to or heard from. So we bring together either individuals or community or small charity groups that represent these populations across the Northwest Coast to hear a bit about people's lived experience, about groups that are running in the area, what the kind of issues or what they might want researchers to know, or any ideas that they think, you know, really are under researched. Do you want to go back a couple, Ruth? That's it, yeah, thanks. And just to discuss how best to enhance inclusion in research. And if anyone today would like to join us as a public advisor in the ARC, then we will be including our email at the end. Do get in touch with us, because we always welcome new people to come and help support co-production of health research in the ARC. Or if you know anyone that might be interested, let us know. Next slide, please, Ruth. We do also have an NHS Futures site where we store all the different slides and information about the each Seldom Heard forum that we run, which you can join and become a member of, and sort of carry on the conversations outside of this space if you'd like to. Next slide, please, Ruth. So just really short introduction about unpaid carers. I would be considered an unpaid carer as I have a child with a disability. In terms of the sort of the numbers, was there a slide before this, Ruth, or is it that? No, it's okay. Thought there was. It's okay. So what we know is that there are large numbers of unpaid carers. Up to about 1 in 10 people is an unpaid carer. Females are more likely to provide unpaid care than males in every age group up to 80 years old, and then it's more likely that men are carers than women. There are different estimates of the numbers of unpaid carers, and this can be due to the different definitions of who an unpaid carer is. We're going to hear a lot more about some of the issues that people that can face carers, but it's been identified that isolation, loneliness, and lack of support are some of the issues that face the millions of unpaid carers in the UK. And recent research found that nearly 3/4 of carers have support needs that are not being met. Next slide, please. So an unpaid carer is anyone who cares for someone who is ill, disabled, older, or has a mental health concern, or is experiencing addiction and is not paid by a company or by the local authority to do this. So this usually means that this is a family member or a friend. In the 2021 census, there was approximately 4.7 million unpaid carers in England, and it's recently been shown that about at least 1.2 million of those are living in poverty, with 1 in 10 of all carers in deep poverty. Next slide, but miss the next one and go on to the one after that, please, Ruth. So there will be a short evaluation survey that will follow up this by email, but we thank you in advance for your comments. We'll also be publishing a blog with links and opportunities to follow up in the next few weeks, and also information on the next forum. And we are also doing an evaluation of the Seldom Heard Forum, so you might receive something in the post about that too. Thank you very much for your participation today, and if you would like to get in touch with us, these are some of the emails that we have. We are now going to move on to our first speaker. Ruth, can you just check who that is? I haven't
It's Clarissa.
got my... Who is it, Nahid?
Good morning. Yeah, it's Clarissa, Dr. Clarissa Flevel. She is the Dementia Research Group Lead at NIH ARC Northwest Coast. And she's also the organiser of the Liverpool Dementia and Ageing Research Forum. Her main topic areas are dementia, social care, health inequalities, care homes, social care workforce. And she's also had an international collaboration in Europe, South America, Asia, and Australia. Okay, Clarissa, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So thanks for the invite, Selena, Ruth, and everyone. I thought what to present. So as Nahid was just saying, I and the group does a lot of work that builds on the NIHR ARC Northwest Coast, but looking a little bit outside this island. So we work a lot with Europe, we work a lot with other countries as well, and we take learnings from, for example, the Netherlands and try and implement them here to help build supportive interventions for people living with dementia and their many, many unpaid carers. So what I thought for these next, I think I've got about 15 minutes, I would like to share with you a little bit of an update on what we have been doing with Europe, because there's a lot of learning, for example, from Portugal or Poland, the Netherlands, Germany, that we are now thinking about how can we work together. So I'd like to share with you some slides and I'll go through them. And it's very convenient because I'll be sharing them anyways in 2 weeks in Geneva at a conference. So I might as well use them. So bear with me and right. And just checking, can you see the black screen or the full screen, Ruth? Full screen? Super. Okay, so a little bit about the European network that we're involved in. And I've just seen one of our postdocs is here as well in the group. James, he's part of the European Task Force. So we are part of Interdem. It's an interdisciplinary network of dementia researchers all across Europe who are also working with the European Working Group of People Living with Dementia from Alzheimer's Europe and the European Working Group of Unpaid Carers, again facilitated by Alzheimer's Europe. So as part of this European network, we've been established for 2 years. We are different countries, but we're also charity organizations. So we're kind of taking this ARC model more European wide. And I'd like to give you a little bit of an update what we've done so far in the past 2 years, to also think more about what can we learn from what we've done and where can we go. So within Interdem, we have specific task forces. The task force I lead is looking at inequalities in dementia diagnosis and care, building on all the work we do in the ARC and our expertise at the University of Liverpool in our research group. We try and understand and find solutions for all things that are inequalities in diagnosis and care. So we launched in October 2022 in Bucharest. The thing is, we always get together once a year in person at the Alzheimer's Europe conference. We are now about 60 members, and our membership is comprised so far of 14 countries, but we're always looking for more countries, for more representatives, especially from countries that are not as research active. And we want to link in with, for example, Latvia or Malta, for example. So this is just a little bit of who we are. We meet regularly as well, remotely. And now I'll give you a bit of an update of what we've done and what we are doing in the past 2 years. And this has implications for what we can do across the Northwest Coast with all of our members as well, and put in grant applications. So all of the things that we're doing in the task force, as always, is co-produced. Here's a little bit of an overview. I'll go into it in a little bit more detail. So far we have completed 2 tasks, task 1 and task 2. So the first one was a survey across Europe. I'll give more details on the next slide. The second one was an evidence synthesis. So we looked at all the publication, all the evidence that's out there on misdiagnosis of dementia. The third one that's ongoing and linking in with a recently funded network that we have in the UK that we're leading at Liverpool is looking at what's the evidence on solutions to inequalities in diagnosis and care. And again, this is not only looking at the person living with the condition, it's also looking at unpaid carers that are currently caring and former caregivers. They're equally important. And lastly, I'll talk a little bit about a grant application that we're due to submit in 2 weeks' time. So let's give you, first of all, a little bit of an overview of what we've done in the first year, which I learned a lot about, of how different, how care is differently provided in different countries as well. So it was a really good exercise, and it's interesting to work with people outside of your country as well, in a fun way. So what we've done, we've developed a survey that was done either online or in person. It was done in person by 2 people from Alzheimer's Europe with people living with dementia and unpaid carers. So they sat down with them or had a telephone chat with them and went through this survey. It was a very, very brief survey because what we wanted to understand was, across the different European countries, what are people's experiences as a researcher or as someone with lived experience and caring experience about what do you face or what do you see as a barrier to accessing diagnosis and care. Now, we've done this work a lot in the UK, including in our group, including in London and other sites, but not so much across different countries to compare. So 49 people completed this survey across 10 different countries across Europe. And afterwards, because a survey only tells us so much information, we want to have more richer information. What does it actually mean? So at the bottom here, you see, for example, lack of information, service suitability, stigma, lack of care professional communication, lack of workforce knowledge, that's a big one, financial costs. These are some of the most frequently stated barriers across the countries and in the survey. But then we held consensus meetings. So some of you might have taken part in workshops that we hold a lot, so co-production workshops. So we sit down with you. Sometimes we provide a bit of information, or we just chat and want to hear your thoughts on things. And we've held them across the different countries, and we wanted to understand, so stigma, for example, what are your experiences with this? So it was really interesting to hear, especially, I just want to highlight in Poland, for example, a substantial barrier to accessing care in Poland is that care is normally provided by the family. There is very little services, external services available that provide home care, daycare, residential care, etc. It is expected, particularly of the women, in society, to provide this unpaid care. That didn't really come across in the other countries, although in Italy, again, there is less of an emphasis on external care services. Again, you provide care within your family, whichever gender that is. So these are some nuances that are really interesting for us to explore further. If you want to find out more, I'm happy to share with you the paper. The paper is published. So that was the first one. The second one, I'll go into a little bit more detail. I'll skip a little bit because it's meant to be for an academic audience in 2 weeks. But I think this is a really important new line of work we've developed in consultation with a lot of third sector organizations and unpaid carers as part of our group here in Liverpool, including the Lewy Body Society. Because there, unfortunately, are many people with dementia who are delayed in receiving a diagnosis because they have, in fact, a rarer subtype. So if we look at dementia, dementia is the umbrella. Alzheimer's disease dementia is the most common subtype of dementia, accounting for about 60-ish% of cases. However, that means there's a lot of people that have rarer conditions within dementia, for example, Parkinson's disease dementia or Lewy bodies, so where your motor functioning is a little bit difficult. Or you might have semantic dementia or primary progressive aphasia, where your language is impacted. Or indeed, you might get a dementia diagnosis before the age of 65. And oftentimes, many doctors struggle recognizing symptoms in someone that is below the age of 65 because there's still a misconception that people might only get a dementia diagnosis in old age. So we wanted to understand what does the evidence say on misdiagnosis? So we looked at evidence from 2010, and then we synthesized this together. Again, a group of us across Europe. Basically, we included 20 studies. So 20 research teams published evidence on this topic area. You can see here, which is what we found quite interesting, that a lot of this was actually from North America, so that's the United States and Canada, and 5 studies also from the Netherlands, very little from the UK, as you can see. This is important to us because it means that the findings are not necessarily that representative. It means that if only one study looked at this in the UK, well, that should mean we should do more research on this, especially depending on what they found. So it's always important for us to look at the evidence more broadly. We also broke this down by dementia subtype because it is expected that someone with frontotemporal dementia, so someone that might have a lot of behavioral difficulties, gets agitated or has eating problems, sleeping problems, etc., they might struggle even more getting a misdiagnosis. So I'm just going to briefly whisk through this here. Interestingly, and I think this all links to unpaid carers, because if someone doesn't get a diagnosis right at the beginning, that can place a lot of burden on the unpaid carers because they just don't know what support they ought to get, or it's the wrong support because someone doesn't get the right medication if they're eligible for it. So it's also really about the unpaid carers here. Ethnicity was found to be linked to a delayed or misdiagnosis. If you have worse cognitive functioning, so if you struggle memorizing things, if your memory isn't going as quickly, if you can't think as quickly as normally, but also multimorbidity, so if someone has depression or mood disorder, they can all influence someone getting a misdiagnosis.
Clarissa, we're just on the last 5 minutes, just to let you know.
Yeah, I know. I've got the timer here. Thanks. So sorry, that threw me now. One of the other things we found was there were difficulties related to the diagnostic process. So, for example, there were a few studies looking just at Lewy body dementia, and that receiving a diagnosis of Lewy bodies was significantly delayed compared to other dementias. This is an interesting one, and I'm only briefly touching upon this because there isn't much evidence out there. And so we found 2 studies that looked at the economic consequences of not getting the right diagnosis at the right time. They were all looking at Medicare data from the US, and they looked at societal and healthcare economic impacts as opposed to the individual person's impact. So one thing we realized, and we would like to do more research on, also linking in with the ARC, is to try and understand what are the financial implications on the individual and on the caregiver of not getting the right diagnosis at the right time. And then just briefly here, young onset was a key focus of this, and there were quite a few studies that found that there were higher rates of misdiagnosis in people with young onset dementia. Again, it's important for us to capture this in a summary of evidence so that we understand better where to go next with this work. Oh, just to mention, by the way, this is, if you want to learn more about this, hopefully this will be published very soon. We've just had minor revisions on this, which are submitted. And then, as I mentioned, we're currently looking at solutions, and there's more work going on in our ECODEM network as well. And I thought this is important to mention here, actually, because it's very relevant. We are 14 countries. We are submitting a cost center application in the next 2 weeks, which is a European network grant application. And we're looking on diversity, inclusivity, and equality in patient and public involvement in dementia. What we aim to do over 4 years is to set up PPIE groups in dementia, learning workshops, conferences, to increase knowledge about this across the different European countries, and to also understand what's the baseline at the moment. So we want to develop guidance on how can we make involvement and engagement much more diverse, inclusive, and equitable. And I thought that was topical for this forum as well. So if any of you want to get involved in any way in more dementia research, either by just listening to things, by sharing your views as a participant, or by being a public advisor, we are now having a 5-year network on reducing inequalities in dementia. So if you want to find out more, just drop me an email and I'm happy to share more information about that. That's all.
Thank you very much, Clarissa. That was very informative, and you very accurately have related the different types of dementia and how little information there is actually out there. Our next guest is Debbie O'Brien from ALS Club. Debbie is the founder and director of ALS Club, ALS Arc, ALS Angels, and ALS Oasis. And she has 2 daughters with complex needs, and she set up a day centre service based in Liverpool, which she's going to tell us something about. Are you there, Debbie?
You hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, sorry. Hi everyone. I'm a little bit nervous, so you'll just have to hang in there and just bear with me. As Rufus just says, I'm a parent of two daughters who both have additional and complex health needs. Like us all between us, we basically have got to support our children, give them the right guidance and support others along the way if we can. But my journey began 30 years ago when my oldest daughter, Rebecca, was born, and she's borderline autistic but high functioning. She works, so her health needs they're not as prominent as her daughters are. Jodie, now she was born with cerebral palsy. 5 years after that, she acquired a brain virus called encephalitis. Through that's when I'd say I began to be a full-time carer, because we practically lived in hospital due to her health needs. But through experience and what I'd gone through, it led me onto a different path where I thought we need more services to enable us carers basically to focus more on our situations on a whole and try and get better services in place to basically enable us to look after our kids more. So I ended up setting with the support of social services called Speak. This was about 17 years ago, and that support group, basically, we supported all parents who were going through life's journey, as you can call it. We got different professional bodies in to support the families because we couldn't support because we weren't professionals.
I
But
think Carol's down as the carer again.
Can you please mute everyone? Thank you. Can you unmute Debbie, please, Ruth?
sorry, I'm back. I'll have to stop waffling, so I do apologise. Currently, right now, we run a bespoke day service called Owl's Oasis, which is based for young adults who have additional and complex health needs. They come together 3 times a week and we give them the very best of everything. So what the goal is and the aim is to provide well-being. Well-being is very paramount for us. So we focus on meditation, art therapy, relaxation, current affairs so that the memory and the mind is still going. We don't sit them down and give them paper because they've done college, they've done school, they've done that environment, and they're all adults. So we bring out the best. We bring out the best in everybody as well as ourselves, because we're still on a learning curve ourselves, you know, between us. But we do art therapy, music therapy, meditation, gardening, cookery lessons. We also go out into the community, so we'll go to the likes of farms where the members can interact with the animals and feed them. We do historical sessions, so they'll go out and it's seeing it virtually, so they're not just stuck inside like what we're doing now. We're not on Zoom, they're not on Zoom, they're actually out at the premises seeing it for themselves so they can get the vibe. We take them bowling, swimming, cookery lessons, but all I can say is we just want to provide a service that will enable all our members and the families to have quality of life. And if we can help in any other way, we will. But between us, we've done quite a lot within the community over 2 decades. And we're all still very passionate about making a difference, because being a carer, and I never get the violin out or go, oh, look at me, but it has left me ill. I had a stroke, lost a vision in my left eye. I got hypothyroidism, but we all know ourselves that's related to stress. And when you're trying to juggle everything and there's no support for the carer, and again, not that I do mind, but it's all unpaid. and it's done from the heart, because my daughters are 30, my youngest daughter is 30 and my oldest daughter is 32. They both still live at home, both doing their own thing. One works. My little girl, who was set up the day service for, which she attends, but it gives her a purpose in life. And, you know, she's able to go out and engage with other people on the same wavelength as our Jodie. And so she's actually, touch wood, she's thriving and she is loving life. And sorry, that's all I can waffle on about.
No, that's amazing. Honestly, Debbie, you've it's very relatable to me as well, because I've got a special needs daughter who's around that age, 32. So I'll definitely be in touch with you after this. Thank you. That was a lovely presentation.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah. Our next
Debbie,
guest,
can I just
Yeah.
ask, are you able to stick around for the Q&A if people got any questions for you about your group or anything else?
Yeah, as long as me diva doesn't perform, because she's on a bit of a diva mode. She's with a PA at the moment, so but if Josie performs, I might have to go.
Okay, if there's any questions, we can always ask people to put them in the chat and we can send them on to you if needed. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
was gonna my email, if you want to share that with anybody, feel
Yeah,
free.
if there's anything that we can do, you know, in terms of supporting your group as well and telling people about it, you know, we can send out information to people as
Oh,
well.
fantastic. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt, Naheed. You go.
no, it's okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Debbie.
No, thank you.
Our next guest speaker is Paul. Paul Agner works for the Liverpool Carer Centre at Local Solutions as a health and wellbeing coordinator. And I met Paul, say about 10 years ago. So he's a kind of guardian angel for me, because as a lot of carers will understand, I was one of those who didn't identify as a carer. And it was Paul that helped me on that journey with the services at the Carer Centre. So over to you, Paul. Thank you very much. Can't hear anything at the moment.
Here we go. Hi,
Hi.
everyone. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Oh, lovely, super. I was just saying I feel dead posh this morning because I got an assistant to do my slides. It's great. So Ruth, could you do the first one? We'll start from the first slide. Thank you. Lovely. Okay. Well, the Carer Centre is part of Local Solutions. We have been, as a charity, established for 50 years. And over the years, we've done a very wide range of community-based projects. But at the moment, we are doing all sorts of different support services for unpaid carers in the community. Okay, next slide. Right, some of the things that the Carer Centre offers. We do a carers assessment. These are the things I'll be touching on briefly as we go through. Carers assessment, health and wellbeing services, which is me, my time service, the carers emergency card, and life enhancing technologies. Thank you. Okay, so a carers assessment. I always say to carers that ring us up, a lot of carers out there, especially if you are reasonably new to caring, or even if you're quite an established carer, it's hard to know all the different services there are out there. So I often say to carers, you don't know what you don't know. And so the idea behind an assessment is that we sit down, one of our care development workers will sit down with a carer, and we go through all the different aspects of their caring role. And after we listen to all the challenges and all the different aspects, we'll then have a good perspective on if there are any services that we can support them with that they aren't already plugged into. Now, quite often, people don't know there's something available for them. So it's always worth getting an assessment. And I always tell people it's a win-win, because if we do an assessment and you're getting everything you qualify for, at least you know. If you don't, if there are things you don't know about, then that's obviously a great bonus. So we are, although we're a charity, we do deliver this on behalf of the Liverpool City Council. Right, how does an assessment work? It's very straightforward. You don't need a professional referral. Anyone can ring from home. If you want to go through your GP, your social worker, or whatever, that is fine. We get a lot through those different networks, but you can just literally call our number. We'll then send you a pre-assessment questionnaire, just to give us a backdrop on your just the outline of the caring role, to save time when we sit down with you. The next stage is to get together. Now we like to do face-to-face where possible. Now we can meet at the person's home, in a Tesco cafe. They can come to the office, whichever they feel more comfortable. And then after the caring, the assessment is put together, we do what is called like a support plan. So with if they want us to support them in certain ways, we'll put that support in place, and then we type all that action plan out, and then they sign it, we sign it, and then it's like a commitment document that we can all work with towards getting them what they need. Okay, next one. Okay, health and well-being. Now, another part of what we do, so if there's any more questions on the assessments, I'll be here at the end, or you can put it in the chat or email me later. Very happy to answer any questions you've got. Health and well-being, that's another department, if you like, within our unit. I'm part of that, and we help to give carers like a mental break, because as you'll all know, caring can be extremely challenging on a range of different fronts, and it can be very unpredictable. But so to get people out of the house where possible and engage with other carers, now that is in itself is really important, because they get it. You're talking to someone that actually understands. I spoke to one carer, and she said, a good mate of mine said, I wish I was a carer. I could just swan around the house all day with a cup of tea. I go to bed, I have to work 9 to 5. And she said, well, I get 2 hours off a week, and I'm up 3 and 4 times a night. So I do 7 days a week. And with those, my 2 hours off a week, I do the Asda shop. So there's people don't really understand. So to get carers together with other carers, that is really important, to share stories and support. So some of the ways we can do that, we do a monthly dementia support group here at the Carer Centre. We do a mental health support group. We do welcome sessions where you can come in, get a cup of tea, and we talk to you about everything that we do all in one go. In sort of 9 months of the year, we do park walks where it's safe enough and light enough to do so, all around the city. We do yoga here, Tai Chi, calming crafts. There's singing. Not all of them can sing, to be honest, but we try and shut both fire doors, and it's easier for us. Men's coffee and chat. We usually go downtown and visit places as a men's group. We do outreach sessions in Aintree, Old Swans, Speak, and we're looking at a couple more other places to do that. We do IT courses, how to stay safe online. We do group sessions. We do one-to-one IT sessions as well. And there's a range of training that we also do at the moment. We've got on first aid, manual handling, and there's mental health skills and all sorts coming up. So a range. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so obviously some carers, as we all know, can't actually leave the house, especially if dementia is involved. And they can't go in there without the cared for person. So we try and put on some contact via Zoom, where they can actually just go on a tablet or the laptop or their phone, you know, from a seat in their own home. So we do a coffee and chat group. We're just starting a coffee and chat group on Monday mornings, or once a month to start with, 11 till 12. We do an evening coffee and chat once a month, 7 till 8 for those carers who work. And we do a book group once a month, which is very popular. And I also do some IT where we can, or over Zoom as well. Okay, next slide. Now, My Time is another section of what we do. Now, My Time's been running for about 5 or 6 years now, and they've done an incredible job in building a network across Liverpool, where they have made contacts with hotels, restaurants, universities, theatres, all sorts of things. And they get hotel breaks, which is normally a Sunday night, plus breakfast on Monday morning, at one of 20, I think we've got 26 hotels on board now. And they give that time for free. Also theatre shows and pantos and you know, Philharmonic concerts and stuff. We get those tickets for free, all donated for carers in Liverpool. So there's quite a strong feeling within the sort of industry, if you like, that they want to do something for carers across Merseyside. So that's fabulous. They do afternoon teas, meals in restaurants, coach trips and all sorts. So there's loads going on. It's free to join up, and you can put your name down for some of that or all of that. So it's really good. Okay, next slide. Okay, the carers emergency card. This has been something that's been quite useful for carers, and we've just updated what it is now. It's in case you were to have some sort of accident or incident where you were unconscious for a period. The authorities would then obviously look through your wallet or your handbag to see who you were. Now, if you don't have any indication that you are looking after someone that will need you to, that you can't leave alone, you might be picking them up from a school, you might have somebody that you can't leave at home for long. It'll have 2 emergency numbers on there, plus your photo. So it's photo ID. It does double up now as a photo ID to prove you're a carer. We've had all sorts of issues over the months or years where people have had to take their fish out DWP letters and all sorts, which has just been a pain. So it's in one nice credit card size card now. So that's always kept on your person while you're out and about. So makes it handy. Okay, next slide. Okay, super. And the last one we have is Life Enhancing Technologies, or LETS, where we provide a range of different things. I think probably one of our most popular ones is falls monitors, where I'm sure you all know what falls monitor is. Somebody can press an emergency button if you do happen to fall over, and they do bracelets as well, wristbands. We do grab rails within a house, smoke detectors. There's talking watches for the sight impaired. There's like an alarm if you've got a hearing impairment. There's like a vibrating pad that goes under your pillow, and if the fire alarm goes off, it really does bounce about and wake you up. So anyway, there's a whole range of different things that we have on offer as well. Okay, and moving on to our last slide, which I think will be done via email or at the end. So that's our presentation in a nutshell. I've rushed through it, but there's lots more to say. So we are available for a chat on the phone. Very welcome to email us and arrange to come in to see us or to talk on Zoom another time. So please let us know.
Thank you, Paul. No, you've definitely understated, I think, the carer centre there. And as Paul said, it really is an all-in-one local solution for the residents of Liverpool. I'm very lucky to have the carer centre. And some of those, I volunteer for the My Time at the local solutions. And it's something, you know, the hotel breaks it is specifically for the carer. And unfortunately, you do have to make arrangements for the cared for, but it's something just as easy, just having those few hours to yourself, maybe having a bath or something. And then they do get, you know, there's so many sponsors who sponsor My Time, and you get things like theatre tickets, afternoon tea, but also, you know, the wellbeing centre, the walks. Hopefully we're going to have a Christmas market walk this year again, Paul.
Certainly am.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So if anybody wants to ask Paul any questions, please, I'm hoping you're going to try and stay on, Paul, through till the end. If you can put some questions in the chat and he'll answer those. But also we've got a Q&A at the end. And we're just going to have a quick 5-minute comfort break. So if everyone can be back at, say, 12 o'clock, that would be much appreciated. Thank you very much. Hi. So our next session is we're going to hear from some public advisors regarding their lived experience as carers. So we've heard from a few organisations and professionals, but it's always good to hear the carer's voice. And our first guest is a young lady called Shabnam. And Shabnam has been a young carer since she was a little girl, and now as an adult she is still caring. Shabnam, are you there?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh,
So that's something that carers, I'm sure. That was my daughter who is not very tactful and through whenever. So good afternoon, Shabnam. So can you tell us a little bit about your role as a carer?
hello everyone. I've been a carer for my mum since I was 5 years old. My mum suffers from mental health problems and physical health problems. They're not genetic, but it's a lot more due to her lifestyle, her diet and things. And so I help my mum with like, for example, I wash her, I feed her, dress her. She's partially blind, so I help her with like everything. I act on her behalf in legal and financial matters, and I cook for her, clean up after her, and literally just do everything for her.
Thank you, Shabnam. And you know, how do you think this has impacted on your life? Because that's a long time, isn't it, from being a child carer now to be an adult?
Yes, absolutely. I would say that it's made me be and lead a different life to people my age, and also miss out on social experiences that I think a lot of other people have gone through during their age, and I've not been able to do that because obviously being a carer, and also it's led me to be a bit more isolated. So like I'm not able to go out and do activities and go to events. I've got to like think and plan in my mind that is it possible me being a carer for my mum, and am I able to, you know, be able to sort everything out and then go to that event, or should I not go?
Yeah, Shabnam. And you are the sole carer of your mum, because growing up you did have help, didn't you, with your uncle and your dad, but at the moment you're on your own. But also you've been very motivated to further your education. Can you tell us what the motivation is and what the barriers you had and the reasons why you felt it was necessary for you to go to school, college, university?
My father and my uncle passed away when I was very young, so that left me to be the sole care for my mum. but they always they motivated me into going further with my education. They pushed me, and also I think in society and in school, I had gone through where where people would say negative things about carers. So a lot of people would not think that carers could achieve anything, that carers could even do A levels or go to university. And I think that also was a motivation as well. Going to university where I did my undergrad in law and I did my master's in Edgehill as well in law. Yes. So, sorry, Julie. They knew about it at school and at sixth form and a university, and obvi they knew about that. They were a bit accommodating, but I wouldn't say it was that much. It was just much more the focus that we have to like help her because obviously she's in education. And then after education, I was just informed you don't get any help. There's nothing out there that you can access, and you're just left on your own basically. But that was one of the motivations that pushed me into carrying on with my education. And also, I think being because I've got my master's in law, because I've got my master's in law, I ended up going on to teach at the University of Manchester, where I got my associate fellowship, and I taught law to undergrad students, and I also was part of a program called the Manchester Access Academic Program Tutor, where I tutored 3 law students to go to top universities in the UK, so that they could, because they came from disadvantaged backgrounds, to give them an opportunity to be able to pursue their dreams. And also I've worked as a future first role model, where I go and speak to them and help them with interviews and things, and all sorts of different activities in encouraging carers and other young people who are from disadvantaged backgrounds into British society, and also into being able to pursue their dreams, go to school, get the dream job that they want, and not be like isolated as I was.
Thank you. One of the things that you're very passionate about, and that is, you want to be able to work, but you've experienced a lot of discrimination in the workplace, and that is specifically, you believe, because you're a carer. Can you elaborate on that, please, and give us your lived experience?
The first example I would give, because I got, after I graduated with my master's in law degree from Edgehill University, and I think also because I did law because I was born and raised in a council estate, so I lived half my life on a council estate, and it made me see inequality around me. So I was very motivated to help people. But when I got into this job as a healthcare assistant, I think it was during COVID lockdown, I was informed very early on that because of me being a carer, if the hospital had known, they would not have taken me on. So I ended up suffering verbal abuse and emotional abuse from the recruitment and staff members. I was then placed on another team called the multi-area support team, the MASS team, and on that team you had flexible working, but you were just on one band, like you couldn't go any further, and you couldn't do any training opportunities, but you were sent to different wards and different departments, which you could not choose. The only thing you could choose was which hours and days you did. So I'd be sent to like different wards and that, and I would get bullied by staff members. I would get staff members making inappropriate comments and saying inappropriate things, like doing inappropriate actions and stuff. It wasn't acceptable behaviour. And afterwards, when the team to be on the team, you had to be very, very good at your work. So that was, the gold standard. Like, you only allowed to be on the team if you're very good at your job. And my manager would get feedback for how everyone on the team had been. So, she always expected the gold standard. If you even fell a little bit below that, like you woke up, maybe you had a bad experience with someone on the ward, you were just told you have to do their work, you have to carry everyone, and you'd get into like bother. But my second experience was this March, I think, when the team shut down, and they said to me that you have to apply for your jobs, you have to apply for all the different jobs. So I applied for Band 3 job there to get, and I passed the training, was really good at the training, had an interview with the panel. They just said to me that because I was a carer, I couldn't get the job, that they needed someone who's very flexible. And then I was informed by HR that they would get back to me. HR got back to me on Monday and said that I didn't understand the role. Bearing in mind, when I informed my former manager of what was going on, she said that that was discrimination, because to be on the team that I was, you had to be very good, the best in the hospital. So other people will learn from you, and you would have to go to different places, take on extra responsibility, and that it was trying to the hospital trying to exclude me. It wasn't part of equality, and it was carers discrimination. Afterwards, after that happened, I applied. I was sent onto a ward, and on the hospital ward, they just said to me that we are still looking at your flexibility. So I could possibly be in a job or out of a job. It just depends if they are willing to be flexible with my hours and my times.
Yeah, that is very difficult, isn't it, as a carer, because you do need that flexibility. Shabnam, what do you feel that what questions should researchers be asking? What do you think?
The questions I think researchers should be asking is that, I think, first of all, it's not just a legal issue like changing the law, because I have read up about it a lot to try and understand my rights as a carer. The Equality Act 2010 has characteristics that says that you know, you can't discriminate based on this, and there's that footnote to the act that will say carers are included in this, but because it's not in law, not many people take it seriously. And you have things as unpaid carers leave, you have like the carers passport, but carers passport is like, but you have to have one for different organizations. And I think it's having some also being someone who's a carer and worked in the employment industry, like in healthcare and also in teaching, I would say that it's very important for people to come together from different backgrounds, different like learning subjects, and try and find out what the issues are before they go and start changing the law. But I do think overall in general, the law needs to change to be able to protect carers, because I'm someone who's, and I've been part of Carers UK Research. They've just published, I think, a report to the government to try and get the law changed. And I heard some horrible stories there where carers were discriminated against in the workplace, and it was absolutely disgusting, some of the things that were said and that we had to experience. And I just don't think it's fair that, like, because I'm a carer, that I have to suffer discrimination for this, whereas everyone else, you know, you can't discriminate based on religion, race, skin tone, or anything else, your gender, but people think it's okay, like in employment or other industries, to discriminate because you're a carer. And I just think there needs to be more research from different people from different backgrounds coming in and finding out, like, you know, what are the other issues that affect carers, and then going to change the law, rather than just going straight in and changing the law. And maybe, you know, you do that and then carers think, well, it's not, you haven't addressed this issue, that hasn't been addressed.
Yeah, that's a
Thank you.
valid point, definitely, that if the research is done beforehand properly, then implementing that, it's, you know, it's a positive for carers. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Rizia? Shabnam, sorry.
No, it's okay. No, thank you, that's it. Thank you so
No,
much.
that was good. Okay, thank you very much. And hopefully you're going to stay around, Shabnam, till the end. So
Yeah.
if anybody else has got any questions to ask Shabnam, please do put them in the chat and she'll chat with you there. So our next speaker is, let's have a look. Is it? I can't see my agenda.
I think it's
is a
the
recording.
video. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a recording from Terry. So Ruth is just going to set that up. So it's Terry Bryant.
Hello,
and
my
Terry
name
is
is
also
Terry.
one of our public advisors. Okay, go on.
Hello, my name is Terry, and I am a carer for my wife who has long-term physical and mental health conditions. In the past, I've also been a carer for my mother towards the end of her life. and also I've helped my son as well, who also has challenging physical healthcare conditions. My life as a carer particularly changed, I would suggest, around COVID, because the job I was involved with then, that job folded because of COVID, and I then spent a lot more time at home, and that coincided with my wife having to undergo a series of complex brain surgeries, and so I was there available. So I moved more into a more intensive, I would say, 24/7 carer role. And now, while she's my wife's a lot better now, I still sort of fulfill that role as a 24/7 carer for my wife. I think the whole area of carers is really important and interesting, and one of the key elements around it is that whilst medical staff or whoever it might be will come along and assist the person to the best of their ability in whatever it might be, in whatever area it might be, but then when they leave, or when you leave that consultancy, you as the carer continue. You are still there. You are the person who at 3 o'clock in the morning has to help the other person. You are the person who is on beck and call most of the time, most of the day, and that fact, the importance of carers, is, I feel, often not put on people's radar. They just don't consider it. It's an ancillary activity. Their focus is on the person, quite rightly to an extent, but their focus is on the person who is ill. Now, one of the questions that was put to me is do I define myself as a carer? And thinking about that, I thought that was a really interesting question, because for somebody who is ill, for somebody who has either poor physical or mental health, there can be a tendency for that condition, for that situation, to define them so that they live within that environment, and that's what they are thinking about a lot of the time. And I hadn't really appreciated until I just thought about it, how much that sort of impacts also as a carer. I'm sorry. And so, as a carer, yeah, I do consider myself a carer. It is the thing which is front and foremost in my mind most of the day, and I accommodate what I'm doing and what we do and how things are planned in respect of that. What other impacts does it have has it had on my life? I would say it certainly changed the variety of things I'm able to do, because considering my wife, that limits, we don't go out to restaurants, for example, because she is allergic to a whole raft of different substances, so we can't take that risk. In terms of mental well-being, there are times when I'm aware that there's insufficient bandwidth, if I can put it like that, to accommodate how I'm feeling, but I'm quite a robust individual, I think. So I just sort of battle on through that, because the focus is, and I wouldn't want it to be anything else, on the person you're looking after. With regard to some of the other areas, what would improve being a carer? Without question, first and foremost, the thing that would help is an improvement in the health of the people that you are caring for, and that's your number one priority. And if that could be achieved, then that reflects back to yourself, that reflects back on yourself. Health inequalities, because of the restrictions, I would say, that being a carer puts on you. Personally, I do a lot less exercise than I might like to do, and there are those issues that kick in as well, but other than that, I think I'm lucky, because I am still a pretty fit and healthy person, and long may that continue. In terms of areas for research, that's again another interesting question, because carers are all very different, and on one line, they all sort of fulfill the same function of caring, looking after somebody else. But the relationships, the situation, the circumstances are so different for every single person. I would suggest maybe exploring how carers feel that being a carer impacts upon their well-being, on their mental well-being. Might be a fruitful avenue for research, but it's difficult to pin it down because there's also an element, and I don't think I just speak personally, but there's an element where the offer of help and support is slightly felt as a reflection on the carer's inability to fulfill the role of a carer, if that makes sense. So that's a factor, certainly for myself, that would have to be considered. Other than that, I know that I'm very fortunate because there are so many who are full carers for somebody who has very serious mental or physical health conditions, who they do have to battle through, and any support that can be given by people that are close and in the know, so family members or friends, I would say that would be it's very, very useful. We're lucky because we have very supportive children, and we often, not often, but we do visit our daughter who lives down in Devon, and that makes life a little bit easier for a while, which is great. But I would just say the role of the carer, what would be useful is that if for any medical professional, when they are interacting with a patient or a service user, factors that into their thoughts and their processes and their considerations, because it is the carer at the end of the day who is there 24/7, and as such they are in a very good position to provide support and help, and they also need help themselves sometimes. Hello.
That was a really good account of a carer's life. And I think at the end, though, he said about professionals, I think it's really important for that communication to be there. I think the caring role is such that communication should be there for all parties. So it's collaboration, really. Our next speaker is Joan Parton, is that right?
Yes.
Is that how you say it? Yeah, Joan,
Yeah.
are you there?
Indeed, yeah, Joan.
Welcome, Joan.
Thank you.
She's going to talk to us a little bit about her role as a carer. So, Joan, can you tell us a little bit about your lived experience and who you look after?
Yeah. I've been a carer for 20 years for various members of my family. I still class myself as a carer for my dad, even though he's in a care home. A little bit about my dad. My dad was diagnosed with dementia in 2016. We tried to get a diagnosis for 16 months, and it was only through him having a catastrophic fall and being admitted into hospital that I think I literally begged them to get a diagnosis, because they were leaving Dad in a room on his own and that. So in order to safeguard him, anyway, someone listened to me and he was given a scan, and it came back that he had Alzheimer's. He'd been having strokes, small strokes, and he had brain atrophy where his brain had shrunk. So that was fantastic. So he got safeguarded. But if we could have got that diagnosis 16 months earlier and got the right interventions, the right treatments, being able to safeguard him, that would have been amazing, because Dad was never the same after that fall. He might have had a fall anyway, but I think with a prompt diagnosis, it would have been a much better outcome, because he needed 24 hours care, 7 days a week, from the moment that he fell and up until today. He's 92 years old today. We were also looking after Mum. Mum, aged 85, was diagnosed with lung cancer, around the same time. So we were caring for both parents. We had to pay privately for carers when Dad came home from hospital because social care just wasn't meeting our needs, and that was very costly. Me, my brother, and my sister, we done like we done like 8 hours, like 8 hour shifts. But that was becoming impossible to keep, and family members were supporting us, so we got in private care. But social care just couldn't meet our needs at all. And it was just a traumatic experience. And I was just, I felt like that we were in like this bubble where no one could understand what caring for both our parents was like 24 hours, 7 days a week. And it was trying to access the right care and support. So that's my experience as a carer.
Thanks, Joan. Obviously, that's had a big impact then on your well-being, hasn't it, as a carer? So can you tell us a little bit about that impact?
Well, I have a lot of underlying health conditions now, and I think a lot of them are stress related and not, social isolation, mental health, and just not being able to live the life I used to live. My life completely changed, mixing with friends, socialize, and that was all very, very difficult. It impacted on our health as well because with Dad's behaviour, we didn't understand why Dad was behaving the way he was. We knew he had dementia, but he was hallucinating. He'd hallucinate. He'd get aggressive, and there was just no one at that time intervened and said to us, "Okay, you could get in touch with the Alzheimer's Society, or there was a virtual ward or anything available." We were given nothing to help us. It was just a social care assessment. This is what social care, this is what you're allowed. And we were just left basically to get on with it, on our own. And as a family, that caused a lot of stress in the family, and my brother and sister's health started being affected as well. But as carers, we found like the negative impacts on us over time. We're affecting our health, because our main focus was on keeping Mum and Dad at home and looking after them and trying to get Dad as well as, trying to improve Dad's health and improve Mum's health as best we could in managing their medical conditions. So I think that this needs to be identified and recognised by social services, by consultants, by everyone within health and social care, that, there needs to be a clear pathway right at the beginning when someone is diagnosed for carers to follow, and carers' health and well-being needs to be assessed as well. It's not just the cared for, it's the people who are caring for them. They need to be cared for, they need to be looked after, and their needs need to be assessed. So, yeah. So I just felt that we were like invisible and we weren't valued as carers, and we weren't given the right support right from the beginning.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think every carer's role is different, definitely, and that support needs to be tailored. Joan, how do you think life could be improved for carers? What do you think should be happening?
Well, I would say that after Dad got the diagnosis and came home, someone should have came and spoke to us about dementia, told us all the various types of dementia. We never got a specific diagnosis for Dad. It was Alzheimer's, but with the hallucinations and everything else, no one told us about that or explained why he was hallucinating. Also, I think we should have been offered training. We were offered, we got, you know, there was no training available for us. So that we could, you know, intervene with dad's behavior issues, because we really didn't know how to cope with that. That was so traumatic, because he was frustrated because he'd lost his ability to walk. So we had physios coming in, but when the physios left, it was up to us then to toilet him, you know, to move him. And that was another stress on us, you know, because he was fighting for his independence, and we were trying to help him to become more independent. So I think training on the specific types of dementia, how to manage behavior, and sort of, I think Teddy said before, you know, about, it's like you're left to care. You're just left to care when everyone goes, when you leave it, when everyone goes and the doctors and everyone leave, and you're just left to care on your own. And it can be very isolating, and it does restrict you in a lot of things, what you do. You know, so it's like if everyone could imagine starting a job with no training, no help. If you could imagine that, being put in that scenario where, you know, at times you just feel lost, and who do you contact? I mean, later on I found out about the Alzheimer's Society, and I wrote up, I contacted them for help and information and got that, but specific training, practical training, someone coming into it, because we were caring in the home. And if someone would have come in and told us about, we needed stair lifts, we needed the bathroom changing, there was so many things that had to be changed to accommodate, but there was no one there really to support us and guide us. It was just, you know, we were like liaising with all these people for alarms, the beds and everything. So, you know, right at the beginning, there should be a team who comes in, identifies the type of dementia, and says, okay, as a family, to keep on caring, this is what we need to do for you. You know, to look at it in a holistic way, to look at all the variables that would, you know, that would we would need to help us to keep mum and dad at home and keep caring.
Yeah, definitely, Joan. You've got a point there, because I think caring for healthy children and parents in old age, that's completely different for caring for someone who's ill and has got complex needs. And I think you've definitely hit the nail on the head there, that it really is vital. I mean, obviously dementia there's loads of different types, and we do need knowledge of that. But just generally as a carer, there's so many other things as well. Like you said, you know, style of lifting, that's something simple, you know, to how to be able to do something safely.
Yeah, and to deal with the emotional, you know, to deal with the emotional side. And also, I'd like to mention that people did actually say to me, you know, well, we've cared for our children. You know, everyone cares for the children. Everyone cares for the parents. You know, when they get old, and I was shocked, because I said, no, caring for a child who has complex needs and caring for your parents who have complex needs is completely different from caring for people who are healthy. It's a complete, and you know, I couldn't believe it. So I think there needs to be a greater understanding of, you know, carers' roles, and how much it takes to adapt to that role. It's not just caring and going in and making a cup of tea and sitting with someone. It's toileting, it's cooking, it's shopping, it's washing, it's doing the housework, it's sitting with that person and talking with them, you know, and engaging with them, dealing with their mental health issue, because illness brings with it mental health issues, you know. So I found that quite shocking. So I think, you know, there needs to be, you know, an understanding of carers' roles, because every carer's role is different. It's specific to the person's medical condition. And I think a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, no, definitely, you're right there. Joan, you're now a public advisor for ARC Northwest Coast. So obviously you're using your lived experience. How's that journey been for you?
Amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. It's, as a public advisor now, I've gained knowledge and about dementia. I've mixed with other public advisors, listened to their stories. So you don't feel so alone, yeah. And being able to have a voice and share my experiences has been amazing. And to work with researchers and to take that knowledge out and share it with, within our community, within my community, because I've done that a lot. I've gone, and I've took the research out there and I've shared it with people, because, I think carers, I feel like that I've been educated, and that education has helped me so much. I've gained new skills, I've gained confidence, and I feel valued now and respected, because everyone in the ARC Northwest Coast, the researchers and everyone, has valued me. I feel valued. I never felt that before. It's like sometimes when you're with social workers or within social care, the NHS, it's like it's like your voice isn't being heard. It's like, I'm the carer. This is what I'm serving. This is what we need. These are my experiences. But within the ARC Northwest Coast, it's just been an amazing experience. I also became involved in dementia research projects with Clarissa and her team. And I've gained skills, I've been listened to, and I just feel that my opinions have been valued, in order, and I feel like I'm helping other people by sharing I am by sharing my lived experiences. I also got involved with the co-production of the Dementia Inequalities board game, and that's been amazing. That game, I've took that out and spoke to people and played it with people, and and pre and post diagnosis. It really does inform carers of their rights, of what is available, duty of cares. And it also, by the questions and answers, it highlights what you know and what you don't know. And it can lead you actually to make your own little social care assessment, and what and to go to your doctor or to your healthcare providers and say, look, this is what should be happening, diagnosis, interventions, treatments. So that has been a really good experience, and I'm now trying to take that out into the community, and set up, support groups and that. So that's good. And I also feel at times I haven't been well. I have health conditions and that now, and I feel like that. I've been given the time. When I've contacted people and said, "Look, I'm not too well," then I've been shown compassion and empathy, and haven't felt under pressure in my role as a public advisor.
Joan, we'll just carry on a little bit before we run out of time. Can you tell us, obviously now you're a public advisor and you're doing a lot of research, but are there any particular questions do you think researchers should be asking to improve the lives of carers?
Yeah, I thought about this, yeah. And specifically, yes, there needs to be research projects and data gathered to understand the inequities and inequalities unpaid carers face. So specific questions like, has there been continuity of care? Is the person you care for receiving the right post-diagnostic support to meet their needs? How many hours per week as a carer are you working? Has it impacted on your emotional, mental and physical health and your own family health? I think that's an area that needs to be looked into, because caring for someone for 30, 40, 50, 60, 24 hours a week really needs to be identified. So the local authorities, councils, the governments are aware of the value of carers, and depending on how many hours you work and that, you know, your needs need to be assessed so that this doesn't impact on your health and well-being. Because as a carer, what we tend to do is care for others and not care for ourselves. Yeah, it just becomes an everyday thing, doesn't it? And we also, you know, and also I would say researchers need to look at, you know, what respite is available for carers, what help and support, financial support, even to have a break. You know, and ask the question: have you had any training, or what advice have you had to support you in your caring role? And that really needs to be looked at and explored.
No, definitely. I think it's really important that research findings are effective in informing the public, you know, to educate them, make sure that they're bringing about those changes that, you know, are going to give us good access to health and social care.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd just like to add before we finish off and go into question time, Joan?
Let's see.
You did mention you wanted to just say, just spend a minute on the Seldom all age carer strategy.
Oh yeah. So I've been part of the Seldom Carers Centre for many years, and I've been part of the Carers Voice and the Carers Action Group, and I'd just like to say the best support I ever got was from Seldom Carers Centre. That was they provided a sitting service, they provided me with emotional support, counselling, advice and training, and I've been involved as a partner in the carers strategy. Yeah, so the carers strategy, I've just been told, is due to be signed off. Yeah, so I'd just like to, let me see here. So the Seldom Carers Strategy 2024-2027 sets out, you know, the commitments of the partners to unpaid carers, and shows how partners in the borough will be working together to support unpaid carers of all ages. Yeah, their vision is that unpaid carers of all ages in Seldom will have support for their physical health, mental health and well-being needs, whilst they are meeting the needs of the person they care for, ensuring carers have a good life. So that strategy needs to be monitored, and I think it would be a good idea for researchers who are researching to look at the strategies, yeah, and then maybe do research on how the strategy is meeting carers' needs. Yeah, it would be a good thing in the future to look at that, because I think this Seldom Carers Centre and all the other carers centres across the country need to be supported financially to deliver what they need to deliver to us. They are a place for us to go. They are already established. So I think more resources, more financial help, so they can support the carer strategy, you know, in going forward, and we can get our needs met.
Thank you, Joan. So we've still got most of our speakers hopefully still online, Paul, Shabnam and Joan. But, you know, if we can, Selena, would you like to just get a discussion going? If anybody wants to ask specific questions, if you can just put your hand up.
Sorry, there's a couple of questions in the chat, which we can start off with as well.
So we can start off with them, and then anyone who wants to speak, if you use the bottom hands up, or you can put an RTS, a request to speak, in the chat, and then we'll try and get through as many as we can.
Okay, first question was to Debbie. Did you have a website about Al's Space? Perhaps if you have, perhaps you could put it in the chat for us. That was the first one. And a question to Paul was, does local solutions and similar benefits benefit from any healthcare or funding, or is it all dependent on charitable donations? That's one to Paul.
Yeah, hi. Right, our the Carer Centre funding comes from the council. So we have a contract renewed every 5 years. Well, we have to bid for it every 5 years. So our funding comes from there. Local Solutions as a whole does try and get grants, additional funding from everywhere, really. And but we always find it, occasionally we'll get funding from or donations from carers. Very, very occasionally, okay, you know, every now and again you get £100 or something, you know, but generally it's from the council.
Thanks for that, Paul. Is Debbie still here with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know whether I'm still on screen or...
Yeah, no, go on, Debbie.
Sorry.
I've just got that many in front of me.
At the moment, I haven't got a website. My son is going to be setting that up. We're on Facebook though, and it's a private group. So you can find us on Facebook. It's under my name, which is Debbie Deborah Lynch O'Brien, and it is Owl's Oasis. Yeah, I can send one. I'm not too good with computers, I do apologise, but I can send one of my little mini flyers over, so that you, if you don't mind, you can possibly circulate it amongst your friends and colleagues, because there's so much more, but I was just too overwhelmed because there's lots of medical issues that I'd like to further my knowledge on, but I was just really overwhelmed before to go too much into it. But obviously moving forward, if I can be educated more, I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Debbie.
If you want to just take a photograph of the flyer on your phone and send it as an attachment, I can circulate that around to anybody who's here.
Thank you, that's easier, Ruth.
Selena, would you like to say something?
Yeah, so I was just going to say for Debbie and anyone else, as I think I mentioned at the beginning, you know, we always welcome people to join us as public advisors, and I know obviously Clarissa also really works really closely with different organisations and individuals around dementia care. So anyone that's interested in that, we can put our email in the chat as well, so you can get in touch with us. I just want to thank everyone for you know, all your really insightful and interesting talks. Paul, I can see you've got your hands up. I was going to ask you whether you feel that, you know, what kind of percentage of people that are caring do you think receive any support? You know, obviously you cover the Liverpool region. Do you think a lot of people don't access the support that they could access? Is there lots of people that are maybe waiting for your services?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the different figures, but one of the figures is there's approximately 50,000 carers within Merseyside of different, you know, different sorts. And, you know, we're always looking for referrals, really. You know, we're always very busy, but we can still take on more referrals. Our services, you know, could reach more people. And one of the biggest things that we're trying to combat is people say, "Oh, I never knew you existed."
Yeah.
And we're on Twitter, Facebook. We email the people we know. We're on the internet. You know, we website. A lot of them. We network with GP surgeries, and we do a huge amount of publicity. Yet people go, "Oh, I never knew," you know.
Do you think it's because partly either that people don't consider themselves a carer, or that they assume that being a carer is maybe associated with elderly parents rather than maybe, I don't know, all the different ways that people can be caring for somebody?
Thank you for that, because the reason I laughed like that was you just absolutely smashed it there. For a very long time, our posters say, "Are you a carer? Get help here." And many times over the last couple of years, people have said, you know, the kind of blokes I was talking to said, "I'm not a carer, it's me missus. You know, it's my wife, it's my daughter, I'm not a carer." So we've sort of changed our post, or some of what we do now. Do you look after someone? Because people look at a carer and they probably instantly think of somebody with a blue outfit with a white pin collar coming out, and I'm not one of those. But one of the things, I've got my little hand up there, is the thing I think I missed out from a presentation that I think Naheed would back me up on, is that, you know, when promoting the Carers Centre, it's not just the activities we do, it's the ongoing long-term support, and we're sort of like home-based almost, not the hardware shop, but it's a place you can keep on coming back to.
I'd say it was like family, Paul, more like
yeah. And we get to know, we love Naheed, and she's been brilliant, you know, to us, with us. We've supported her, she supported us, and you know, 10 years. But it's when you sign up for the Carers Centre, it's somewhere that you can disappear for 3 or 4 months, then you come back again, and you've got a question, where can I find a decent plumber? It's not, no question is too daft. And we do all sorts of things, and I'm not being dramatic here, but many carers have said to me, if it wasn't for the Carers Centre, I wouldn't be here anymore. They've been that desperate.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things as well is that, you know, with the Carers Centre, I know a lot of people, you know, you've said rightly that a lot of people don't identify as carers, but recently we've been involved, haven't we, with trying to get funds, and we've managed to secure funds to have an engagement officer to go out into those communities who are seldom heard communities. There's the BAME communities, there's a lot of ethnic minorities who are, you know, they just don't identify themselves as a carer, and there's that trust issue as well. So we're very fortunate. I think that's something that we've recently just had, that someone, rather than people looking at the carer centre, or I didn't know it existed, we're getting someone who's going to go out into communities, and that's been part of the research that I've helped Paul and staff, that we've managed to get somebody who's going to go into communities now and tell them about the Carers Centre.
Naheed, I think Rob's got his hand, is that his hand question?
Rob? Yeah, hello. I just want to thank Joan for all that she said. It was very helpful, and I'm in a situation that I do expect my wife to look after me in lots of different ways. So I think a lot of us are depending upon our nearest relatives to look after us. The other thing is, I think the issue of training, I think, is really important. And I've had some contact with Edge Hill University, their service users group, and at Edge Hill, they train a lot of nurses. And I just wonder, you know, is the training of nurses for people living with dementia or Parkinson's, in my case, is that on the agenda? Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. So it's a good question, and we'll take that back to Clarissa, because I think that might be the training and stuff like that. It's probably one of the things that they cover in terms of thinking about dementia. But yeah, I think also what Joan was saying about, you know, that wraparound care and making sure that that carers are trained as the best way to support, you know, those health needs, and the practicalities of caring for somebody. I thought, Joan, that was really powerful what you said about like it's like going into a job with no training and no supervision, don't know what you're doing, and you've just got to get on with it. And I think really hard. And it was lovely to hear about you know, your experiences as a public advisor, and I hope that, you know, a bit like the Carers Association, you know, it's all about relationship building, isn't it? And making sure that, you know, that the ARC, you give as much back to the ARC as we get from you, you know, and
Yeah.
So it's really good. Does anyone else have any other questions, or do they want to come in and make a comment, anything like that about what we've heard today? Is there anyone?
Des, I've just noticed you're online. Are you still there?
Who's that?
You might not be there, Des. It's just somebody from, I was just going to ask him if he felt that there was enough research in his community.
I think Vicky has put the hand up.
Yes, Vicky.
Yeah,
Vicky first.
just on Jones, I'm the chief exec of Seldom Carer Centre, so the counterpart to Liverpool, and I also chair the North Board for the Carers Trust. So obviously I have that regional perspective as well, and I think you know one of the main issues is it's the lack of understanding of the value of carers is the biggest thing, and how much health save by having unpaid carers is huge. But as a carers centre, I think one of our issues is carers numbers never go down; they always go up. Carers assessments, there's always reassessments every year, so any allocated budget has to accept that the carers, you've got new ones coming up in each year, but you've also got reassessments from the following year, so those numbers never go down. We've got a lot more complex families now, so the perception from funders sometimes is a carer caring for one person and not understanding that the carer may care for one or two people and also have their own health conditions, which, you know, it comes to that complex family. So the makeup over the years of what a carer centre does and how they support people has changed, but funders don't see that and health don't see that. You know, you only have to look at the hospital discharge process to see that as well. So there's a lot of complications within the lives of carers that's not recognised by the systems that are there to support them. And Jones quite rightly touched on, you know, a carer strategy. We've done obviously been involved in the development of Seldom carer strategy, and one of the biggest pushes we've pushed through is that there's an action plan behind that carer strategy. So what does good look like, and who's responsible for it, and when will it happen? But a lot of carer strategies don't have that detail. So, and there's no national carer strategy in force. Dementia strategies, end of life strategies, they all need to link together. So it's a complicated beastie around that. So I suppose my ask on a research part would be to understand what the complexities are from in a carer's life and the impact of all that, rather than just on that one caring role, because I think it's something that needs to be highlighted to health.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, Vicky. And Dorcas, you'd like to say something?
So much, Naid, for that. And it's been an excellent 2 hours, really. Maybe you saw me up with my camera off. It's just I'm stretching myself. But I want to say thank you to the organizers to start with. And when you asked us about speakers, I emailed it to Paul's organization, which is the local solution. Is a name. And I asked her again when I met her in the council. Oh, she said, Paul is coming to speak. I said, that's great. Thank you, Paul. First question for you is that, do you get a lot of ethnic minority coming to the carers in the carers solution? Do you get it? From Africans or Indians coming to your solution, the carers place? Do you get a lot?
Not as many as we would like. I was on another Zoom recently, and that was the discussion how to try and access what some people loosely call the BAME community. It's broader than that. And I know there were members from different groups in the BAME community, and there can be some cultural barriers between services. and so, but we have taken on someone recently. She's Muslim, and she's going to, or she is accessing, you know, the community that she's associated with to try and make inroads into our carers. So we have been trying it, we are trying now, but as this other group I was talking to, they were all recognizing the barriers of the Chinese community, etc., etc. So there's something that we were all working on, and two of the council commissioners were on the Zoom as well.
Yes.
So they were there to listen to some of the issues that we have to bridge going forward.
Thank you. Just two comments, really. You are right, the cultural issue, because we believe we look after our own, you know, and it's about empowering them and encouraging them that the services are available within the council or within the community itself. Thank you for the organizers, Ruth and Naid. Thank you for leading it. And thank you so much, Selena. And everybody here, it's lovely to see you on the platform.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for that, Dorcas.
Thank you.
And just to mention, Dorcas, she will be visiting AMCLAP, helping her out. So if there are any contacts or any groups that you can let us know. At the moment, we're visiting the Caribbean Centre. But if there's any other, you know, contacts that you can let us know of, that would be helpful. Selena, do you want to draw us to a close?
Yeah, thank you. I think we did well there. We're on time, and I just want to say thank you to all our speakers and everyone who attended today. I think it was a fascinating discussion, and lots for our researchers in ARC North West Coast to think about going forward. So we'll be back in touch with you soon with information about all the slides and stuff from today, and also to hear more about your thoughts on what else you might like to hear from the forum. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.